Alright, today we're going to be reading the Tale of the Mysterious Black Wolf. And, this is story 2, continuing off of A Fire Spark. And in case you missed out on that video, go check it out because I'm not spoiling anything. But, long story short, Sparkflame got venom frosted. And, well, in story 1, which is A Fire Spark, Sparkflame got venom frosted. So that's why I'm reading story 2, which is the continuation of that. And only there are a few side characters in here. There are 3 points of view for this story. One of them being the Black Wolf, obviously, another being a wolf named Fire, and another wolf named Curse. Now, the Black Wolf is really important to this story, because not only will you get a perspective of how strong Venomfrost has gotten, just from his point of view alone, the Black Wolf's point of view alone, you'll also see that Venomfrost actually does something to the Black Wolf, and that's why he is, the main focus of the story. And I can't wait for you guys to see what will happen in the end, because, well, it's going to be very exciting. There's a third story. The third and final story is a Frostbitten Shadow, and that's gonna determine whether Venomfrost gets stopped or not, because remember, she's an evil wolf. But anyway, let's get started. Chapter 1. A faint mist outlined the grass, which shone silver from the moonlight. The edges of the trees were slightly lit up from the moonlight as well, their leaves lighting up. On a shiny rock, there I laid, tucking my hind legs underneath me and stretching my front legs out. I looked around, wondering if anyone would see me. I only came here because although I don't live here, one of my buddies, a deity wolf, told me about an aggressive and greedy pack of wolves who took up the entire territory of the grassland. All my other buddies wanted me to go, since I'm stronger than them, even though the strongest wolf that we have always seems to be too busy in the forest of darkness. It may be due to me having a secret, which I do. I believe that I'm the only wolf who doesn't have to make physical contact with my enemy to hit them with my powers that require contact, except Shock Nova, Root Prison, Fiery Ring, and Swamp. All of my buddies are surprised about my secret, except the deity wolf, who is more worried than surprised. Before I arrived here, he had said to me, "Tell me when you see a dark wolf, okay? If he's here, then my suspicions will be correct." The others have also mentioned to each other that any wolf who has such a secret power was cursed by a dangerous cursed wolf, who is said to be the most powerful and cruel wolf in the world. Of course I didn't believe it, especially since that's all they gossip about. In my spare time, I met a wolf who taught me how to do what she calls throwing, I think. She claims that she's the best at the most dangerous part of throwing due to how fast she does it. If you forgot how to do it, or need to test it and get better, go to the Forest of Darkness, she said after I mastered it. I wanted to know her name, but she said she would only tell me if I told her my name, which I haven't. And as much as I don't regret learning how to throw, I did accidentally end up with a notched ear when I was training my power with the she-wolf. Even if I don't know her name, a few things that'll help me distinguish her is that she's a gray wolf, and she has poison and ice powers. Eventually, 2 wolves covered the dry smell of grass and cool, slightly damp air, snapping my attention away from my thoughts and onto the 2 wolves who had stopped at the edge of the small river, which was a few feet away from where I was. And there they were, a medium grayish wolf with fire orange markings on its fur, with a smoky gray belly with yellow eyes. A fire wolf. Interesting to see one here, I thought. I glanced at the wolf standing near him, a slightly bigger white wolf with ice blue eyes. I assumed the only reason why the white wolf was bigger than the fire wolf was because it was older. The white wolf glared at me. "Who are you? Why are you in our territory? You need to leave now!" I didn't respond. So this must be the alpha female of these greedy wolves my friend, the deity wolf, was talking about. It seems these wolves must really think this entire beautiful grassland is theirs. How selfish of them. "Hey," the white wolf growled softly, "I'm talking to you." And when I still stayed silent, I saw her eyes spark with anger as her growl turned into a snarl, and a red aura surrounded her as she lunged towards me. Frozen claw jump. that can kill me instantly. I reacted quickly. A root prison surrounded the white wolf before she reached me, and only a few seconds later was she freed. I got up and backed away off of the rock since she was right at the bottom of it, and remembered how to do the throwing trick that the gray wolf had taught me. I turned away from the white she-wolf, and then quickly turned towards her again, and a green light flashed in front of my jaws. I stared in awe at the white wolf. His body shook as she collapsed into the ground after turning green. She then vomited blood, her retching echoing through the empty field. The she-wolf vomited again, this time louder and more in pain until something plopped into the grass. It was meat that was in the middle of getting digested. The grass blanketed by the stomach acid made a sizzing noise as it slowly dissolved. At last she went limp, the life from her eyes quickly draining. I then looked at the firewolf. His legs were trembling in fear, as I could see. His ears were pinned to the back of his head as his tail was tucked between his hind legs. I stared into his eyes and let out a low, threatening growl. "You'll be next, as well as the rest of your pack. Everyone will simply fall to a slow and painful death, or simply die quickly." I bared my teeth and took a step forward. I almost smirked when the firewolf let out a half-yelp, half-whimper, and darted away, tripping on his own trembling legs. I threw my head back and howled in victory of chasing off at least one of the greedy wolves, almost forgetting that they have an entire pack I might have to fight against someday. At this part there's howling, but I'm gonna imitate it for some, imagery purposes. Woo! Very faintly, I could hear responsive howls, as well as excited bark howls. My buddies heard me, and they knew I made something good happen. I never howl unless things like this happen, or if I need help with something. Now what? Does this mean we get this part of their territory for ourselves? We wouldn't have a choice but to give it up anyway. After all, I did kill one of their alphas. It was unbelievably weak. I shrugged. I'm sure the rest of my buddies would figure it out. So in case you couldn't know, Chapter 1 was the perspective of the mysterious black wolf. Chapter 2 is in the perspective of Curse, a dark wolf with a weird eye color coordination. And he is in this wolf pack, and he explains the lore basically of his pack. I might as well imitate their voices just for fun. Oh boy, this is gonna be interesting. Chapter 2. After Fire had announced that we're giving up half of our territory to a black wolf because he killed our alpha, I was the first to react about it. You see, our alphas were Iceblaze, the one who was killed by that black wolf, an adult wolf named Shadowspark who betrayed and left the pack to start his own. Even worse, he was my own father, so we were already having enough trouble as it is. And now, I have to deal with a mysterious stranger who killed my mother. I'm a young pup who just turned a year old, and since I was very close to my mother after Shadowspark's betrayal, I was especially hurt by her death. But now no one in this pack would care about me. It's all because of my name. As I felt the burning stares of some of the wolves on my back, I struggled to keep my tears from rolling down my face. So I laid down and rested my muzzle in between my paws, and wiped my face as a single tear escaped. Then another, and soon, tears were making my face fur wet, and I buried my face into my paws. No one's allowed to see me cry. I was already sad when my father betrayed our pack, and the grief I had for Iceblaze was sure to drive the inevitable tears further down my saddened face. My life has never been like anyone else's. When I was a few months old, my father was the first one to immediately give me my name, Curse. He never specified in what kind of curse my name meant. Was it a devastating curse that would make the world fall apart? Was it an uplifting curse that would always have someone save me from death or getting harmed? Plot armor! I cried even more at the thought, letting out a whimper of despair. Everyone stopped and turned their head towards me. Oh, I see now. It was you who caused this mess. Just look at you. No other wolf is like you, and think of that as a good thing. Curse! One of the wolves, a windrunner, growled, spatting out my name as if he tasted bitter water. That's why that black wolf— I shot upwards, and curled my lip, a deep snarl rumbling in my throat as I glared at the wolf dead in the eye. Say anything about me having to do with something with the cause of Iceblaze's death, and see if you don't find yourself submitting to me. Shut up! I flattened my ears as I heard laughter burst around me, starting with fire. You're so funny, Curse. You're only a year old. You can only get younger pups to submit to you. If anyone, really. You only get that satisfaction if you're an alpha or beta. Really? Curse being an alpha? We'd better give him up to that black wolf, the Windrunner said. A strong sensation pulled me towards the Windrunner. Once I approached him, he smirked and pushed me away, causing me to stumble. My tumble was interrupted as I bumped into someone, who set their paw on my torso to stop me from knocking them over. Then they bent down and bit on my scruff, pulling me up. Once I looked who it was, I saw a Siberian wolf who had a scar along their flank. I nodded softly and glared at the Windrunner. Try and get me, mutt! He turned and a blue and indigo aura surrounded him as he sped away. Cowards run like that! I bet that's how you fight! I called after him, raising my tail. After a few moments of silence, the Windrunner returned with an upset look on his face as he ran. After a moment of silence, the Windrunner returned with an upset look on his face, and he ran up to me and bit me. A massive shiver ran down my spine, and tiny ice shards slowly formed on my fur. Luckily, it only lasted a few seconds, and I was able to shake it off. And when I bit him, he immediately fell onto the ground as 4 thick black rings appeared on the ground beneath him. I then backed up a bit and lunged at him, pinning him to the ground. When I hit him, though, a small lime green fog flashed in front of my body. Get off me! Just telling the truth! He yelped. I held in a yelp of pain as electricity suddenly shot through my body, causing me to flinch before stiffly getting off. The Windrunner scrambled away, the aura still surrounding him. I rubbed my head and looked around. Of course the Windrunner didn't do that. He'd have used his power like Hurricane or something, I thought. Footsteps sounded behind me, and a voice startled me as it whispered into my right ear. If you want, I can bring you with me. The wolves here seem to be pretty bad-tempered towards you. I turned around. It was that Siberian wolf. The wolf's scent smelled strange. It was nothing like this pack's scent. Wait, so this wolf isn't from this pack? I wonder if the others actually knew this. And where are they trying to take me? I narrowed my eyes as I sniffed the wolf. The scent was familiar for some reason, almost as if it had a tint of my father's scent. I looked around again. That fire was talking to another wolf, probably the beta, about being the alpha. So, Flame Shard, you need a mate to be the alpha female. You know this, right? Flame Shard nodded awkwardly. I don't like how a younger wolf is talking to me about running a pack when he has no experience or parents who ran a pack. But I appreciate your suggestion. However, you're not picking a mate for me, are you? Fire chuckled. Not at all. That's your, decision? I could tell Fire was making sure not to speak the wrong way to the soon-to-be alpha. As the two continued talking, the Siberian wolf nudged me. I looked at it from the corner of my eye. Tell me when you decide to make up your mind, okay? It whispered. I did a quick nod. Good. Meet me at the waterfall during the new moon if you want to come with me. And remember, the wolves from my group aren't cool. They're not? I almost skipped with happiness, but at the same time I was relieved. If I was suitable to be an alpha, I could be the alpha of the Siberian wolf's pack. And I think they said these wolves are a group, not a pack. Also, my name is Sabretooth. Yours is Curse, right? How do you know? I stammered, getting a sudden heavy feeling in my chest. The feeling got heavier when Sabretooth's eyes gleamed as they locked onto mine. You love the Forest of Darkness, but my group is staying here for a while. We already have a leader, but he's busy dealing with the recent incident. So do you want to stay here with us for now? When you decide to, of course, until we return to our original home? Or do you want to pay our leader a visit first? I winced as the pain in my chest now felt like my stomach was getting carved out by a bear. I'm thinking about it still. I'll tell you then. Sabretooth looked disappointed for a quick second before looking away. Alright, but don't tell anyone about my own secret. Just like how I won't tell anyone yours. I felt my body stiffen. How does this wolf know so much about me? Were they with my father at some point while I was still a newborn? It was nighttime, and I woke up to someone poking my side. "Hey, you! Get up!" The sound of a she-wolf. I rumbled as I wearily got up and glanced at the wolf. It was a pup, about the same age as me, and she was a Norwegian wolf. What does she want? I thought. So you're that pup whose mother was killed by that black wolf, right? What was her name? Ice Blaze? I turned away from her. Go away. That's not how you talk to someone who's still grieving. After a few moments, the Norwegian wolf looked around. Wait, why are you here? She asked. That was when I almost forgot I left the living space to go on one of the hills and just be by myself so I could grieve for my mother's death, where no one could see me. Then I cried myself to sleep, also where no one would see me. But then this thing came along, and I had to deal with her. This is a place where you could just see the top of the waterfall if you look up high enough. And there's that black wolf. I narrowed my eyes. Don't mention that filthy wolf. You know what he's done. The she-wolf's ears went sideways as she looked a bit uneasy. I understand, and I'm deeply sorry. But I've been thinking about gathering a few of my friends to set off and confront the wolf. What do you think? It'd be a perfect opportunity to get revenge. I looked off into the distance until I spotted a rock close to a river and a corpse laying near it. Ice Blaze, your death won't be in vain. I will make sure this mysterious black wolf dies, and I'll be the one killing him. I'll be sure of it. I'll be sure everyone sees that wolf's body beneath my paws. The she-wolf snorted. We'll be the only ones daring enough to actually do something like this. We'll just simply hop in and out of the abandoned territory, and then make it known that we were there. Oh, during the daytime though. Because that way, if he catches us, what's he gonna do about it? Ambush us? Yeah, in fact, I'm going to do that to him. I'm going to try to kill their alpha and leave his body to rot. Then they'll have no choice but to cower in fear before us. Determination pushed away my anger at the thought of killing the black wolf pack alpha, therefore forcing him to surrender to me and this Norwegian wolf helping me. Perfect! Why don't we bring the others here? The Norwegian wolf darted down the hill into the distance. I sighed, not because of the danger we're putting ourselves in, and it might not even be worth it, but because every time I think about or even hear the leader of the Siberian wolf's leader, I get a feeling in my chest. None of us know what we're dealing with here. We don't even know if this group of wolves have a lot of members or not. As I sat there alone, still thinking carefully about what that Norwegian wolf's strategy might be, I hadn't realized just how eerily silent everything was. No crickets were chirping, and there weren't any howls or bat chirps. Only a soft breeze blew against the back of my ears. I almost flinched as I breathed in the cool air, catching a different scent. It smelled like ice, in a tint of sour. I was too scared to turn around, and that was when I heard steady paw steps approach me. When it sounded as if whoever was there was a foot away from me, the paw steps stopped, and it felt like a wolf grabbed me by my scruff. I yelped loudly, and the wolf immediately dropped me. I whipped around and stared at a small gray wolf, who had the same ice-blue eyes as Ice Blaze. The gray wolf's eyes narrowed, and she took a step back. Suddenly her ears perked up as a sound of thudding paw steps thudded the ground in the distance. Panicking, she picked me up again and dragged me down the hill, tripping over me as she sprinted towards the river in the distance. I struggled, whimpering and crying. "Quiet, you!" the she-wolf growled through her clamped teeth. "For a wolf, you're acting like a pup." I really didn't know if just turning a year old counts as being a pup or not. The she-wolf skidded to a halt at a river, as she saw gleaming eyes in the darkness, staring straight at her. She dropped me and set a paw on my head, stuffing my muzzle in the grass, and put the rest of her weight on my back to prevent me from getting up. But since she was fairly small, I was easily able to knock her off and run away. I then bumped into a shadowy figure, and when I looked up, I froze. I couldn't move, couldn't cry for help. I was frozen in fear as the silhouette stared down at me with an expressionless look on its face. "What's this?" the wolf asked. The gray wolf rubbed an ear with her paw. "Another one of those pups? You don't think he's gonna like this one, do you?" she said calmly. "He didn't say anything about getting a pup idiot. The gray she-wolf scoffed. Then kill it. It's not of any use. You can just tell by looking at it. Not even its parents wanted anything to do with this runt. I glared at her, furious. What do you know about my parents? I snarled, baring my teeth. The gray wolf smirked, and simply turned her back on me. I ran towards her and bit her hind leg until I drew blood.
Bad boy.
What?
Does something that obnoxious, TikTok?
What does?
That gray wolf.
It doesn't. What do you mean?
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, to me it
doesn't.
does. It's something that child.
You need to let me continue reading. Anyway, ignore that prolonged interruption. She helped as I pushed her into the river, then pinned her to the bottom while biting down to her shoulder. A red aura surrounded her, and she got up after a few struggling attempts. Then she angrily stared at me. In a large dark shadow formed over the three of us. Alright, there we go, I fixed it. Then she angrily stared at me, and a large dark shadow formed over the three of us. Large ice blocks fell onto me, and I felt ice slowly form on my fur with each hit. What do I do? The shadow disappeared, and at this point my breathing was labored from the cold, my body shivering violently. Let it die, the gray wolf growled before limping across the river to wash away the blood, then disappeared into the shadows. Only the dark figure stood there, watching me. I shakily got up, trying to balance myself as my body continued shaking. As I weakly glared at the wolf, I recognized it. It was that black wolf. I was too weak to do anything to it, but what I knew for sure is that was the wolf who killed Ice Blaze. You will find yourself in a rather unfortunate position one day, pup, he said before vanishing in the blink of an eye. I let my body collapse again as I stared at the corpse in the distance, tears filling my eyes again. Mother. I closed my eyes, and although the wind had stopped, I felt a cool sensation on my chest, as if Ice Blaze's ghost was pressing her head against my flank, urging me to get up. Chapter 3. Flameshard sat on the top of the double hill, peering off the edge as he stared blankly in the distance. I walked up to him and followed his gaze to a Siberian wolf carrying something in its mouth. It cautiously climbed up the double hill and stopped a few feet from Flameshard and took a few steps forward as it dropped a gem. Flameshard's eyes widened. How did you get this? He asked. Champ, the Siberian wolf said gingerly. I shrugged it off. Although I didn't want to point it out, it's not common to get a single gem from champions, the strongest type of animals. But I could tell Flameshard doesn't really trust a Siberian wolf. Which one? Bobcat. The wolf responded after a few seconds. I saw a bear one as well, but someone took it. It bowed its head. I hope you find a mate soon, Future Alpha, and wish you luck on managing this pack, because I have a few suggestions. Flameshard hesitated. Okay, thank you. He watched as the Siberian wolf took one last glance at me. Once we made eye contact, I caught a glimpse of curiosity in its eyes, before it turned and trotted down the hill. Flameshard, why don't you trust the Siberian wolf? I asked. Nobody knows its name, and it's been here ever since that dull wolf was here. Ice Blaze said the dull wolf brought the Siberian wolf here, just so it can keep an eye on someone. Keep in mind that this was before Ice Blaze gave birth. And one day, while I was hunting, I saw a small group of wolves crowding around the river, and one of those wolves was that Siberian wolf. Unfortunately, it spotted me, and I fled to tell Ice Blaze. That was when I was ambushed by a wolf, and there were others too, and they started to invade our territory. But apparently after we were invaded, the Siberian wolf brought in the corpse of a made wolf we knew as one of the invaders' most important member of their pack. The next day, there were wolf carcasses scattered at the entrance of the living space. Though the Siberian wolf told me that the bodies belonged to the rest of the invading wolves, I wasn't too sure. Whether that wolf really killed the rest of the invading wolves or not, it sent a shiver down my spine. And that's why we can't trust it. especially if it can kill that many wolves in a single day without getting harmed. Also, Fire, can you do me a favor? I looked at Flameshard. Yes? He looked back down at the Siberian wolf, who was leaving the living space and into the grassland. Watch that Siberian wolf. I need to make sure that I can trust it. Alright, I'll keep an eye on it, but you have to choose a mate soon before we get invaded again, and we'll no longer be a pack if they force us to surrender. Flameshard grimaced, shifting uncomfortably as he glanced at me. I don't really think I'm strong enough to be an alpha. Who knows? Maybe that wolf is secretly training its power so it can become alpha instead. I got up and headed down the hill. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll make a good enough alpha, I said as I reached the bottom of the hill. As I split up into a trot, following the Siberian wolf's scent trail, I began to think about my other family members. I was brought to this pack by my parents because they were too old to care for me and my brother. I don't know what happened to him since he was lost, but I really hope I get to see him again. I had a brother named Sparkflame. He was pretty brave for a pup, but one day he wandered too far while our parents were out hunting, and he got lost. I also have that Windrunner. The Windrunner and I are friends, and I'm glad to have him as one. He's deeply interested in my power, and he often wonders how it works. Wow! What if a wolf sneaks up behind you? He had asked when I first met. Fiery ring, I responded simply. I'm a bit curious about his powers. I mean, aside from the speed boost and frostbite powers he uses the most often, I haven't actually seen his potential. I wonder if I'll ever get to see all of his powers someday. The sun was setting, and I hesitated as I saw the Siberian wolf standing right underneath the big waterfall, talking to Curse. What is it doing? I snuck closer and hid behind a small shrub. I perked my ears, and I was able to hear what they were talking about, but just barely due to the waterfall. I've brought a few wolves with me to try and intimidate that black wolf, Curse announced happily. The Siberian wolf muttered something, and then glanced at me. I froze. Hey, it's okay. Come on out, it called. As I emerged from my hiding spot and cautiously approached the Siberian wolf, Curse looked at me with a disdainful look on his face. I caught his eye and growled a warning. He got up and raised his tail, glaring at me. There was something about his gaze that almost made me flinch. He's only a year old, and I just turned an adult last crescent moon. There's no way a pup is going to try and intimidate me, I reminded myself. I followed the Siberian wolf as it nudged Curse and went to a gap that was in between the two hills. Curse was walking in front of the older wolf. I could tell it was letting Curse do that on purpose. Once we were hidden, it sat on a small flat rock, while Curse peeked out from the corner to stare past the river. It was moderately dark now that the sun had disappeared, since the half-moon was covered by a thin cloud. The grass was smooth beneath our paws. The air was a bit drier now, which wasn't too unusual for late spring. So anyway, how did you find us? The Siberian wolf asked. Why are you putting his life in danger? I snapped, glaring at the wolf. He's a pup. Curse slightly wagged his tail, yawning, but said nothing. The Siberian wolf didn't move, but its gaze hardened. Really? Why are you now defending him? Weren't you laughing at him a few days ago about him being an alpha? Curse's eyes widened, as if he figured something out. Our pack is ruined, he exclaimed. The main rule is that the alpha's pup becomes the beta, but now Flameshard is beta. How does that work? I lunged at Curse, pinning him easily. You're not the one to talk about how our pack works. The Siberian wolf got up. And? What point are you trying to prove? You weren't even born here yourself. What? I slowly got up, anger burning inside of me. That means that the Dole Wolf and the Siberian Wolf are working together. How else would they know whether or not I was born here? I snarled threateningly at the Siberian Wolf. You came here without Dole Wolf. You know you did. Yet you didn't leave when he betrayed his pack. You're working with him. You want to kill us all for kicking him out. A red aura surrounded me as I slowly walked towards the wolf. Yes, I'm indeed working for him. But it shouldn't be a surprise. About me killing all of you? Calm down, my goal has nothing to do with death. I'm simply trying to return Curse to his father, where he can become the beta he deserves to be. Curse sat silently, staring at the Siberian wolf. But But, he whimpered, he betrayed his old pack because they are greedy. The Siberian wolf glared at me. You all are. You needed an alpha dead to give up your territory. The wolf let out a low growl, and for the first time I felt intimidated. I hadn't realized how much bigger the wolf was compared to me. My eyes widened in fear as the wolf's eyes gleamed menacingly. You don't care about this pup. You only want him to stay in your soon-to-be broken pack. I tried to push away the fear. If you don't leave our territory, I started. The Siberian wolf stopped growling. Oh, so that's what we're doing now. I rushed towards the wolf as fast as I could, then I slammed into it, almost making it lose its balance. Then a large ring of fire surrounded me, with the Siberian wolf trapped as it tried to get up. The fire vanished away, along with the red aura, and the Siberian wolf shakily got up as patches of fur were missing from its body. It just stood there, not pissed, or not even snarling viciously. Instead, it closed its eyes and opened them after a few seconds. Fire, it muttered. That's your name. Your parents must have been really creative when coming up with a name like that. I took a step forward. What do you mean? The Siberian wolf started to circle around me, sticking out its tail. You want to know why my parents gave me this name? I scoffed. What is your name? Deathbone? The wolf stopped once it was facing my side. No. Sabretooth. Sabretooth scraped the grass, and I flinched, facing it as I thought it was going to lunge at me. As I braced myself, I felt panic rise inside of me as realization struck me like lightning. Dang it! I just used my fiery ring. Was that its plan? I can't defend myself from behind. But by now I probably have inflicted enough damage, so there's a chance this wolf could be weak. Sabretooth calmly approached me. Well, do you want to know why? I frowned. Do I want to? Sabretooth's eyes rolled. I'll tell you. I was named Sabretooth because I'm fierce, like a saber-toothed tiger. I snickered. This calm wolf is fierce? What a joke. So, what made you come here? I shook my head. You're trying to distract me. Nice try. I backed up a bit and dug at the ground. As I did, glowing orange and black spikes slightly rose out of the ground. I know for sure that Sabretooth won't be able to see it. Placing a trap, I see. Now tell me, what were you hoping to accomplish from that? I narrowed my eyes. Thankfully, I'm able to use my fiery ring again. I was relieved that I did place the trap, so now the Siberian wolf won't be able to reach me. Suddenly, a purple aura appeared around Sabretooth. I know ice powers won't really work on you. Unfortunately, the wolf stepped closer until it was just barely touching the trap. I'm sure you'll know exactly what will affect you the worst. Or best, in my case. You see, I don't really need a damage boosting power for what I'm about to use, since the damage it does when it gets a critical hit is big. And before I could react, a small lightning bolt appeared as a thin streak going through Sabretooth's back. Then a loud boom was heard as I was struck by lightning. I gasped as my body convulsed wildly, my fur sticking out in all directions. Are you shocked? Sabretooth asked, taking another step forward, then frowning as the trap activated and exploded in the wolf's face. Curse watched from a far enough distance in amazement. Am I able to have a power like that? He asked. Sabretooth looked at him. Maybe. I got up, shaking. Wow, the wolf's power is strong. Too bad Sabretooth has to wait quite some time to use it again. Sabretooth looked at me. Hey now, you wouldn't want to die, would you? You look like you barely have the strength to use another one of your powers, since all you have is fire. I growled. I know how to use my power as well. The red aura surrounded me again. Then a line of grass burned as a fire wall appeared underneath Sabretooth. Then the fiery ring appeared, and more fur was burned off of the Siberian wolf. The fiery ring vanished, but the firewall stayed for at least several more seconds before vanishing as well. Sabretooth's skin was burned a bit as well, and the fur on its side where the scar was also burned off. The Siberian wolf coughed violently as it struggled to get up. Sabretooth! Cursed and I whipped around. Sorry, I imitated the black wolf like, curse. Anyway, Sabretooth! Curse and I whipped around to look at where the voice came from. Sabretooth glanced at a black wolf. He was running towards the three of them. Then he skidded to a halt. Curse's eyes grew dull as he looked at Sabretooth. Sabretooth looked down at him. I'm sorry, Pup. The Siberian wolf murmured as it took a step back. Curse's face slightly lightened up. Wait, since you're working for that dull wolf, and so does that black wolf, he's going to get in trouble, right? The black wolf snarled at Curse, but one glare from Sabretooth was enough to make him stop and glare instead. Would you like to find out? Sabretooth asked, grinning. Now wait a minute, I barked. He still belongs in our pack. If you were to take him, you're asking for a fight. While the black wolf's tail wagged excitedly, Sabretooth looked at me confused. Really? Are you sure? You probably don't even have an alpha yet. Because if you did, you'd be bringing him here. I growled softly. Yes, I'm sure. So if you don't want either of you two to burn to death, give me the pup. Curse trotted towards me. Fire? I glared at him. What? What if they do take me, and there ends up being a huge fight and we all lose? What will happen to our pack? Sabretooth sighed. Don't worry, you can take all the time you need. I won't call you a coward if you end up begging for us to not take a curse. After all, I already told him that it's his choice. If he wants to go, there wouldn't be a fight. If he doesn't, who's going to force him? Sabretooth is right. I don't even want to know if there are more wolves than just that black wolf and the dull wolf. Come on. I slowly turned away and walked towards the exit of the gap. See you, Sabretooth said. Okay, goodbye, Curse called before sprinting so he can go in front of me. I sped up and shoved him out of the way. I'm the oldest. Get behind me, I said sternly. I heard a growl come from Curse, but I shrugged it off. What was he going to do about it? Chapter 4. I woke up to the deity wolf dragging me somewhere. We were in the forest of darkness, and judging by the eerie sound of wind howling through the trees, I knew this wasn't going to be good. I got up, which took the wolf by surprise, and shook the dirt from my fur. You idiot, I have legs, let me use them. I walked towards the cave that I was being dragged to, which had a stream blocking the entrance. I jumped over it and sat there at the entrance of the cave. Shadowspark, apparently he's here, the deity wolf said. Almost immediately, a large dull wolf emerged from the corner, silently approaching me. Yes, Ghostfire, I can see that. I will bring Forest Frost here. Good. The deity wolf trotted away. Shadowspark looked at me dead in the eye. Oh boy, little spider, he said, closing his eyes and shaking his head as he dragged his paws back and forth. What did you do this time? Don't call me that. You know good and well that my name is. You know good and well what my name is, and it's not Little Spider, I murmured. Whatever, Black Stinger. That name is fun to say and not pathetic, unlike your name. I frowned. Cool. I don't even want to know what you did, but since it involves someone's death, he stopped to yawn loudly. I guess I have to be nosy. The deity wolf entered with 3 wolves, then sat near the entrance. The dull wolf looked at them and groaned, then laughed. Oh, Sabretooth, Forest Frost, and you. He scoffed at a white wolf, who was clearly almost the same size as him. Sabretooth, he started. Sabretooth rushed to sit, back almost touching the cave wall. I'm here and ready to make you regret your life. Good to know, Shadowspark growled. Forest Frost waited for the white wolf to walk in front of her, so she can go last. Oh, right, you. The one who thought that it was a good idea to kill the former alpha. Shadowspark said with disgust. Sabretooth muttered something, but nobody was able to hear the Siberian wolf. But it worked. The wild wolf! The white wolf spoke quietly. Go sit across from Sabretooth. I'm sure you'll have plenty to talk about. The white wolf bowed her head and trotted over to Sabretooth. Sabretooth frowned, then watched as the white wolf sat down once she moved. Forest Frost shyly approached Shadowspark. Yes? Looking beautiful as always, I see. The dull wolf grinned. Forest Frost looked away, clearly flustered. And I meant that as a compliment, he snapped, making her flinch. Now go sit to either Sabretooth or Ghosty. Oh my gosh, Shadowspark, I swear, the White Wolf growled. Get it right! Shadowspark rolled his eyes as he sat in the very back of the cave, covering his paws with his tail. Ghostfire stayed at the entrance with a wary look on his face. So, Shadowspark raised his voice so everyone could hear him. Anybody know why Little Spider is here on a nice day like this? I took a deep breath. Killed one of the Greedy Wolves' members. That, caused them to split their entire territory in half. Ghostfire took a step back while Forest Frost and the White Wolf... In the White Wolf howled happily. Only Sabretooth had a blank expression. Oh, good for you, Shadowspark murmured, scratching behind his ear. Yeah, the only problem though is who exactly he killed, Sabretooth said casually. What do you mean problem? Asked Ghostfire. I knew Ghostfire knew who I killed. I told him after all. I wasn't about to let Sabretooth ruin my life. That could mean my secret might be exposed, since no one knows about it. But I do have a feeling Ghostfire is starting to get suspicious of me and how I randomly wander off with him on occasion. I'll need to be careful. I let myself focus on what's happening now, and then visit the Great Wolf later. If I live from this punishment, that is. He killed a she-wolf, Ghostfire said. Before Shadowspark spoke, I interrupted him. I killed their old alpha, Shadowspark. Your mate, Ice Blaze. Shadowspark's tail and head drooped slowly. You did? What? His voice was shaky. I closed my eyes as I heard the dull wolf slowly get up and approach me. Well, although I never actually did much, it was nice to stay in a group of wolves instead of starving and struggling to survive alone. I could hear a rumble coming from Shadowspark, which slowly transformed into a snarl. Do what you like. I deserve the biggest punishment ever, I said calmly as I opened my eyes. As expected, a red aura appeared around Shadowspark. I flinched as he began digging at the ground. I backed away from the trap once it was placed, and I felt Ghostfire walking in front of me. How about we just imprison him? He asked. So you can just starve him so you can watch him die slowly? I was thankful for Ghostfire's suggestion. After all, if there was someone guarding me, and I could easily use my shock nova and make it look like they suddenly collapsed, it would just make sense. We do have older wolves here anyway. Shadowspark shook his head rapidly. You're forgiven, Little Spider. I just really loved her. I can't just kill you. I would get demolished by Ven. My eyes widened. He's showing mercy because he's afraid of this Ven? Whoever that is, they're probably a dangerous wolf. The White Wolf sprung up. You mean her? But wasn't she kicked out? She asked. Yes, we all know that even the most experienced fighters can barely even come up with the proper strategy in time. She always manages to ambush them right after they use their strongest powers while they're training, Shadowspark murmured. And it all starts and ends with a poison cloud. He shuddered. And although you won't be killed or kicked out, Little Spider, you are going to get punished. I wagged my tail. So what is my punishment? You have to bring every pup from the Greedy Wolves pack and bring them here. Every single one. Sabretooth's ears perked up. Yeah, but they only have 3. One that you named, another one that you named, and one that you haven't named yet. Which you can anyway, because someone already named it. Okay then, where is it? Ven chased him away, remember? And killed him. That was a few years ago, Shadowspark growled. Sabretooth shrugged. Anyway, Little Spider, make sure to get every single one, got it? Shadowspark looked at me. Everyone else, go back to the grassland. Except Forest Frost. The White Wolf jolted up and scurried away, while Sabretooth calmly got up, stretched, and left the cave. Meanwhile, Ghostfire waited for a bit. I nodded. Thanks, and I'll be super careful about it. I turned and ran out of the cave after nodding thanks to Ghostfire. Then I headed towards the path that led to the grassland. which was far, but it wouldn't matter because it would be nighttime by the time I got there. I saw a group of wolves standing by the edge of the river. They were right in front of me, but they didn't know. I noticed that a dark wolf with one white eye and one black eye was among them. Oh wait, it's the pup who Sabretooth insists should live with us. A Norwegian wolf jumped over the river, standing on the other side and almost bumping into me. The other wolves, a windrunner, a timber wolf, and a thundermite, stared at the she-wolf. "Come on, Curse," the Norwegian wolf called. So that's his name. Interesting. Curse looked around, and I closed my eyes so he wouldn't see me. Then I opened them, and I saw that he was preparing to jump when the thundermite saw me. I fear thundermites. Their electricity powers are unlike anything I've ever seen. It was heard that the cursed wolf was defeated by thundermite, which I also don't believe, of course, but they still unsettle me. By the time Curse has joined the Norwegian wolf, I decided to scare both of them. "Boo!" I growled, leaning in close to their ears. They both whipped around to face me, eyes stricken with fear. Luckily for me, these two were the only pups I had to take. The Norwegian wolf was fast. A red aura surrounded her, and she lunged at me. I knocked her off my leg, causing her to splash into the river. As she got out, Curse glared at me and bit my other leg. I bit back a yelp at the sharp pain. 4 thick black circles appearing underneath me as I struggled to stand. I backed away from Curse and then turned away. But before I could quickly turn back as a green light flashed in front of my jaws, he ran towards me and snapped at my flank, causing me to miss. "Oh, now you're really going to get it," I snarled as the circles disappeared. His ears were pinned at the back of his head as he ran away, but I stomped on his tail. The Norwegian wolf growled viciously as she jumped over the river again and slammed her head into my flank, causing me to stumble and forcing me to release Curse. I got up and stared at the Norwegian wolf. He was backing away. A red aura surrounded me, and large, icy spikes appeared above her and fell on her before she could escape. One of the spikes stabbed through the side of her neck, while another one went through the side of her flank. She collapsed, causing her to immediately go limp as the ice spike in her neck was forced deeper and at a weird angle, which caused it to poke out of her throat, covered in blood. More blood pooled around her, soaking her fur and running into the river. Curse stared, wide-eyed, while his legs quivered. He looked up at me one last time before crying loudly as he fled, bursting through the small crowd of wolves as they too began to run away. I then grabbed the pup by the scruff and picked it up, then walked towards the river as I went towards a large rock. Once I was there, I stared down at the rotting corpse of Ice Blaze. I made sure not to get too close, and then threw the pup's corpse next to the rotting body before turning and walking away. That's to teach those pups and the rest of their pack not to try me. I smirked as I crossed the river again before heading towards my favorite hiding spot, a huge tree right where the big waterfall is. And now all I have to do is just wait. Either way, we might end up getting in a huge battle, and I don't mind that. Not at all. Okay, I'm going to stop imitating their voices, just because I want to get this over with already. Anyway, Chapter 5. I scrambled towards the living space, quickly followed by Thunderstrike, the Windrunner, and Shard. Heck? I seemed to have woken everyone up by my crying, because Fire lifted his head up to sleepily glare at me. The other wolves muttered wearily as they too got up. "What is going on?" Sabretooth asked, concerned. "The Black Wolf just killed a pup," Thunderstrike announced, trying not to panic. Flame Shard got up, his eyes blazing. "What?" Sabretooth was silent for a moment. "This is too far. We need to find him in the morning," the Siberian Wolf growled. I worriedly looked at Sabretooth. "But he's in your group. Please don't tell me you're going to—" My thoughts were interrupted as Fire lunged at me and pinned me to the ground, snarling viciously. "You caused this!" The anger in his voice hardened his tone. "We know what kind of curse you are now. That's why your father betrayed us. He brought the invading wolves here to stay away from you." He leaned into my ear. "And ever since you were born, only bad things have happened to this pack, all because of you. It's your fault we lost an alpha, and now a pup." I whimpered, trying to get him off, but his paw was firm on my head. My heart started pounding rapidly as I felt his breath on my neck. "What do you think you're doing?" Sabretooth snarled, lunging at Fire at blinding speed, then knocking him over. "That's your own pack member, let alone a pup. You have no reason to hurt him like this, especially because you might scar him for life." Fire looked taken aback. "Why are you worried about it? His family basically left him, so we might as well do it too. Leave him out there to get killed for all I care. I mean, come on. Who actually cares about this mutt?" He glared at me, anger glazing his eyes. I felt tears form in my eyes as I tucked my tail between my legs. "Oh, now he's scared," Fire sneered. I laid down and flattened my ears as much as I could as I covered my face with my paws. "Please, Fire, shut up." I began to gnaw on my paw as I heard Fire and Sabretooth's voices. The two wolves were arguing, and I've never really heard Sabretooth be upset before. Fire's right. I really am a burden on this pack. No wonder Sabretooth has been trying to bring me somewhere. I let tears roll down my face, remembering what Fire said. His family basically left him, so we might as well do it too. Leave him out there to get killed for all I care. I mean, come on. Who actually cares about this mutt? Little dizzy, my thoughts were interrupted by a loud yelp. I jolted upwards and saw an ear on the ground in front of Sabretooth, whose eyes had a deathly look in them. The Siberian wolf looked at me, and its eyes looked more relaxed. "Well, Curse, have you made your decision? The moon is days away from being a new moon." "Now wait a minute, Sabretooth. This pup isn't going anywhere," a wolf growled. Fire turned towards Flameshard. Then he looked at me, curling his lip. "Oh, and Curse," he raised his voice so all the wolves in the living space could hear him. "I'll see if anyone here really does care about you. If anyone besides Sabretooth cares about this pup, I wouldn't be surprised." "Let it go already!" I felt anger slowly overtake my sadness. "You don't need to be so bitter to me just because of something I might not even have control over." Fire rolled his eyes. "So? Everyone is given a name for a reason. Yours is cursed because you cursed our pack with misfortune." I shakily walked up to Fire, looking at him dead in the eye and growing with fury and raising my tail. "And your name is Fire, because you're not going to last very long." I stood right in front of him, still glaring. I saw him slowly lift up a paw, and I thought I finally intimidated him to make him back away, until he slammed his paw into my back and bit down into the side of my neck. I yelped as pain shot through my body and half whimpered, half whined in desperation when he tightened his grip. Before blood was drawn, he let go. "Let that be a lesson to never try me," he growled into my ear. I shut my eyes, wishing all this could just go away. I suppose that my father would come back and make everything normal. "Flameshard, kick him out, just like we did with his father. Then you'll see how good it is that he'll be gone." Fire looked at the new alpha. Sabretooth lunged at Fire again, and almost immediately ice covered the firewolf's entire body. Streaks of electricity shot through him almost immediately after. Sabretooth then bit onto his hind leg. "Say anything else and you're losing your precious leg." Sabretooth, stop!" the Windrunner cried. "That's my friend you're about to kill." Sabretooth let go of Fire's leg before baring their teeth at him. "Well then, get yourself a better friend. This one is clearly too cocky, thinking he can hurt a pup just because of something stupid." Sabretooth glared back down at Fire, who was shivering violently while desperately scratching at the ice that still clung to his fur. "Especially when he's this weak. I only used 2 of my powers on him, and he's almost on the brink of death." Flameshard was about to speak, but Sabretooth cut him off. "And you? Why are you Alpha? Proper alphas don't just stand there and watch as a pup is clearly getting abused by an older and stronger wolf who could easily kill him." Flameshard looked down, ashamed. "I knew he wasn't fit to be alpha. That's why we need to pick a new alpha, someone who will lead our pack properly," a wolf growled. Very few wolves stood there in silence, while a majority of them, including the wolves that were with me earlier, howled in agreement. "I'm fit to be alpha," the timber wolf barked. "You can just look at me and tell." The Thundermite shook his head. "Why are we changing the subject? First we need to focus on the issue regarding Curse. Look, I know so many bad things have happened ever since he was born, But don't you think that has more to do with our luck, and not the fact that his name is Curse? The Windrunner looked hopeful as he looked around, then froze. A red aura appeared around Flame's shadow. Flame's shadow? Wait, hold on. Well, what a nice little name idea. That was a typo, by the way. It was supposed to be Flame Shard, not Flame Shadow. Okay. Anyway, back to me continuing to read. A red aura appeared around Flame Shard. Listen, everyone. I was chosen as Beta, and now I have become Alpha. You have to deal with that, and if you don't like it, you can leave. Everyone stayed silent. I wiped the almost dry tears from my face and slipped into a dark corner. I felt something brush against my tail, but I didn't mind it. It was late at night when I awoke to the sound of a loud cry, which was abruptly cut off. I stayed still as fear crawled in my belly. I backed up more into my corner until I was sure I stayed out of sight. A few ominous seconds later, a sharp feeling pierced my chest as I saw an orange figure drag a wolf out of the living space with the help of a black silhouette. Out of the 3 wolves that were there, I could only recognize 2 of them. The black wolf was obviously one of them, but the one getting dragged. My eyes widened in horror. I wanted to spring out of my hiding spot and fight off the 2 wolves, but I'd stand no chance, especially against the black wolf. Suddenly the orange figure, barely visible through the giant shadow that covered it, stopped and muttered something to the black wolf, who nodded and dragged the corpse away. I froze as the orange figure snapped its head towards my direction, then heading towards me with its tail wagging happily. As it went closer, I sped up into a trot. It sped up into a trot before resting its chin on my head. I breathed in the wolf scent, and that's when I recognized him. My father, Shadow Spark. Chapter 6. I winced as I pressed my paw on the spot where my ear used to be. The wind stung before I removed my paw. "Are you okay, Fire?" a voice from behind asked. I jumped, then slightly turned to see the Windrunner. I flattened my ear. "Why, yes, I am. It only hurts a bit," I answered curtly. The Windrunner lowered his head. "Is it because of what I said earlier, and how I was defending Curse?" I shook my head, though a low growl escaped my throat. "You know that Curse carries misfortune wherever he goes. How about you get some sleep and let that wound heal in the morning?" The Windrunner changed the subject as he lifted his tail happily. "All the trouble must have drained your energy a lot." I sighed, then laid onto my side. After a few silent moments, I suddenly remembered something. "Hey, Windrunner, how come you've only used 2 of your powers? What about the rest of them?" "That's something I want to discuss in the morning." Turning, he said goodnight before trotting away. It seems like he's not willing to use them unless he's fighting someone, which I understand, of course, if his powers are actually strong. I closed my eyes and frowned as I was forced to hear the quiet chirping of crickets. But I'll have to wait until then. I can't just rush him. Trying to discard my thoughts so I can sleep in peace, I slowly drifted off to sleep. Gosh. I was in a tundra. This is where I was born, I realized looking around. Although it was dark, snow covered everything from the ground to even the rocks and the corpse of a large wolf laying in the distance. Wait. I looked at the corpse and recognized the midnight wolf laying on the ground. It was my mother, Dartfire. I shook my head, desperate to get out of this nightmare. No, she didn't die. There's no way. I get that her and my father were quite old, too old to continue caring for me, which is why they even brought me here in the first place. I reminded myself as I shook away the growing worry as I shook away the growing worry that scratched at my fur. Please let old age be the only reason why they both died. It would only make sense. I was about to close my eyes when a massive shiver shook my body as low, mournful howls echoed throughout the barren tundra. You have nowhere to run, Fire. It's too late to hide. I whipped around to the voice that came from behind me. There was a toxic wolf, and another wolf who I couldn't quite make out through the almost glowing snow. The sunlight reflecting off the snow made it difficult to even see the other wolf. The second wolf took a step forward and glared at me with a smirk across its face. Oh, Fire. Don't you know? It barked a command, and out of nowhere, Windrunner came speeding from behind a rock. It was covered in curse marks, and its eyes were black and had no pupils. The second wolf spoke again. "Don't tell me you forgot." It growled at me. I felt my legs trembling as a sharp feeling pierced my chest. I don't know how, but I was able to recognize the wolf's name. Clouds slowly began covering the sky, revealing a Siberian wolf. My eyes were My eyes were glazed with fear as rotten corpses began rising from beneath me, leaving warm, sticky blood on my paws and fur as I desperately tried to escape. I tumbled down the rapidly growing mass of bodies as more and more emerged from the ground and landed on my leg. Crack! Before a loud yelp of pain escaped my throat, I shot upwards, quivering wildly as darkness appeared around me once again. I looked around and let out a shaky sigh of relief as my pack members were sound asleep around me. But my parents. I shivered as I remembered the nightmare. If it wasn't old age that killed them, I'm not sure what did. I couldn't go back to sleep. Whenever my eyes were closed for more than a few seconds, I felt myself getting pulled into sleep, and the image of the wolf corpses popped up in my head, and I had to quickly open my eyes in fear that the nightmare would continue. Instead, I lay there silently, staring off into the darkness. Did Sabretooth and that Windrunner share some kind of secret? Why did they have to be in that dream? If those two wolves do share a secret, does it have something to do with whatever actually happened to my parents? Chapter 7. Blackslinger, wake up. A voice startled me. I tilted upwards and looked at Ghostfire. What is it? Shut up! A deity wolf nodded his head over to a grey wolf in the distance. There's an intruder in our territory, but Shadowspark isn't here, and the rest are at the grassland place. Why do you think I can do anything about it? I murmured. I recently finished taking another one of those wolf pups who tried crossing into our territory. Into our temporary territory. That's a nice tongue twister. Then I almost instantly got killed by the Thundermite, and I had to run for my life. Unfortunately, I had to go into the forest of darkness. Now, I was just about to rest, and yet Ghostfire comes along and almost scares me. Because Ghostfire lowered his voice as his ears went down. One of our group members was killed trying to defend Forest Frost. I sat in silence as the deity wolf explained what else he saw. What does he mean, trying to defend Forest Frost? The wolf is stronger than me, and yet someone needed to protect her? From who? I can't kill her myself, even if I wanted to. It just doesn't make sense, he growled. I lost track of what he was saying about for a quick second, until I remembered. I slandered. Ghostfire, do you know who was killed? Sabretooth. My eyes widened in shock. No! I curled my lip as I frantically lifted myself up on the ground. I whipped around and faced a figure that stood in the distance. That was who was responsible. I silently crept up to the wolf, tail raised and ears flattened. Then I bit down onto the wolf's neck as I threw it to the ground. The grey wolf gasped, then glared at me from the corner of its eye. Tears formed in my eyes as I instantly looked away as soon as the icy blue eyes pierced through my skin, sending a shiver down my spine. Black Wolf? The grey wolf whimpered. Is that you? As I glanced at her, I could see the dismay in her eyes. Yes, I responded through a whine. Her tail wagged slightly as she took a paw step forward, but flinched as I snapped at her. I didn't need her to see how upset I was. Sabretooth was my friend, and I cared about them. After all, they're part of the reason why I even stayed here with the others. I closed my eyes and let out a shaky sigh. Grey Wolf, can you tell me your name? I decided to change the subject. I still couldn't believe it that this wolf, the one who helped me learn a deadly trick, killed my friend. After several seconds of silence, the grey wolf looked to the side before answering. Remember, you'll have to tell me yours first. Little spider. I tried to smile, though the memory of Sabretooth held down my face like the dried tears. The grey wolf narrowed her eyes. Are you sure? Only 4 wolves know my name, so you should consider yourself lucky when I do tell you. My chest tightened with anticipation. I don't know anything about this wolf other than the fact that she's dangerous. As the grey wolf opened her mouth to speak, I suddenly remembered what Shadowspark said a few days ago as he found out when I killed his mate, Iceblaze. But I can't just kill you. I'd get destroyed by Ven, he had said before, basically not even punishing me. Could this be the Ven he's talking about? If it is, what should I do? I tried to stay still as the Grey Wolf announced her name. Alright, fine. My name is Venom Frost. Chapter 8. 2 more chapters yet. 2 more chapters, yes. 2 more chapters left. I can't wait for the epilogue. It's so boring. Anyway, chapter 8. It was sunset. I sprinted out of a bush as I followed Sabretooth, who was leading me out of the living area and into the open grassland. Oh, right. Before I continue reading chapter 8, I need to tell you... No! Anyway, so before I continue reading chapter 8, this chapter 8 takes place in Curse's point of view before Sabretooth freaking dies. Okay? Just to, like, avoid any confusion, since I already read the part when Sabretooth dies, this takes place before he dies. Before he dies. They die. Whatever. Before Sabretooth dies, this is what takes place. So you'll see specifically how he dies, who killed him, and why. Anyway, let's continue reading chapter 8. I finally made my decision after what happened with Fire. I chose to have Sabretooth bring me to their group. As both of us slowed to a trot, as we left the living space, I couldn't bother looking back. Despite me making one friend, who suddenly disappeared the same night that Timberwolf vanished. And that first night the disappearances began, I saw my father. I wonder why he was there. Maybe to address the disappearances to our Alpha? No, he betrayed us. There's no way he'd do anything like that. Sabretooth was standing in front of the river where the Black Wolf notoriously hides, when suddenly a medium-sized gray she-wolf jumped out from the shadows, her ice-blue eyes gleaming. Sabretooth sighed. Oh boy, what do you want? The Grey Wolf snorted. That pup your Alpha has. Give him to me or else it'll be a life that I'll be taking instead. Sabretooth stood, unmoving, but stiffened as the Grey Wolf headed back into the shadows, only to pull out the shaking body of a small, white and light blue she-wolf with small eye shards stuck to her fur. Immediately, Sabretooth's tail wagged anxiously, as the Grey Wolf spoke again, this time growling threateningly. Please, just listen to her. The wolf she's looking for is in the Alpha's den. I don't want to die. Not now, the Frost Wolf yelped. Sabretooth let out a warning growl as they took a step forward. Then, let go of her. Now. The gray she-wolf shook her head. Then bring me the pup. That's the deal. Wait, what did you say?
She's dang gosh darn dangerous. Not really.
How's she dang gosh darn dangerous? Okay. Sorry guys, that was that one Purloin criticizing me. Anyway. Sabretooth? What does she mean? I asked as I flattened my ears into an airplane. Sabretooth glared at the Grey Wolf before looking down at me. I'm sorry, Curse. Before I could speak, Sabretooth lunged at the Grey She-Wolf, only for her to headbutt them, causing them to topple into the water. While Sabretooth was standing, letting out shaky breaths of pain, Venom Frost backed away and turned to the side, getting ready to kill them like that Black Wolf did to Ice Blaze. Ice Blaze. Wait, that wolf knows the same trick? I can't let another wolf die. Not another wolf I care about. What? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's an air biting.
Shut up. I ran towards the Grey Wolf, jumping over the small river and skidding to a halt right in front of her. The Grey Wolf's eyes widened, then curled her lip. Out of the way, pup! You're going to get yourself killed! As I stood there as my legs trembled in fear, making me almost completely forget what I was doing. Wincing, Sabretooth struggled a bit before getting up. Curse. I whipped around to face Sabretooth. What's happening? I whimpered. You remember what happened before you were born? Fire didn't tell you this, but there was a pack of wolves who invaded your territory, and are the reason why your father left to join them. What? So that's how he betrayed us? Sabretooth nodded. And also, I once promised someone I would bring back all of our members. You're saying that? Tears formed in my eyes as my voice broke. You were in those wolves' pack? So was the Windrunner. You know, that wolf who's close to Fire? Wait until he realizes his secret. I'm not in their pack anymore because I was forced to kill most of them. Some, if not few, managed to escape because I told them to run. I hate this current pack, Curse. You might think I'm a part of your pack, but I'm not. I'm bringing you to where I actually live. I pulled away. No! I don't want to go with you. Because of you, my mother is dead. I turned and ran, whining. The Grey Wolf spoke again, her voice slowly fading away as I ran further. I then heard a growl come from Sabretooth before a shocked whimper came from them, only to be abruptly cut off. Splash! I skidded to a halt as my ears perked up. Never mind. Sabretooth is the reason why I'm treated like this. So why should I care about what happens to them? And then reminded myself that out of all the wolves in my pack, Sabretooth is the only one who truly cared about me. They protected me from fire, who attempted to kill me. I can't return to my pack, so where do I go now? Curse! A voice called. I looked around frantically, until movement caught my eye. It was a large dull wolf, and it was trotting towards me. Wait, how can I see it? I glanced up at the sky. Weak sunlight was shining onto the wolf's fur, almost making its fur glow in the orange-reddish light. I stared at the wolf for a little longer, then I recognized him. Oh, hello, father. My father stood a few feet in front of me, then looked at the direction from where I was running away. You know that wolf? What wolf? I mumbled, wiping the tears from my face. Sabretooth. I bit my tongue before a whimper escaped my throat. I wish I hadn't found out who that wolf really was. I would have been better off not knowing their secret. No. You sure? I suspected why they haven't really been going where I wanted them to go. I clearly told them to go to the tundra. I stared at the ground. Well, I guess you won't be able to do anything about it. Hey, I saw what happened. It's okay. My father came closer and set his muzzle on my head. The name of my father was faint in my head now, likely because of all the things I had to process. But I wished I remembered, especially now, as I'm finally able to see him again. I also want Sabretooth back alive. Unfortunately, however, no one can get revived when they die. If that were true, my mother would come back by now. Curse, how about you come back home? Well, to your new one anyway. The wolf spoke softly. I hesitated. Was this where Sabretooth was trying to bring me? No. There's no way they're new. What was it? Their group? I wonder if they even called themselves a pack. So when my father left my pack to create his own, Sabretooth and that Windrunner joined him as well, I assume. But as much as I do want to at least stay with my only living parent, I'm not sure if I'll actually be safe. What if this pack is called a group because it's too small to even be considered a pack? What if everyone in this group is dangerous? Would I be treated the same way as I was in my former pack? I shook away the thoughts. I'm almost an adult, and soon I'll have to take risks and defend myself so no one can try to take advantage of me. Tell me whenever you've made your choice. Also, nobody in my pack, group, is aggressive. Especially towards pups. So you're safe, don't worry. I suppose he's right. After all, I'm starting to feel like my pack is slowly falling apart. I took a deep breath. Alright, I'll come with you. The wolf turned away and began walking along the river, and I followed him. You remember my name, right? He asked. Not really. I hung my head. It's Shadowspark. I huffed. Even though my mother Iceblaze is dead, as long as Shadowspark is alive, sorry, you're probably seeing some random speed paint right now, but what I'm seeing is a bunch of typos. Anyway, as long as Shadowspark is alive, my memory of her will never disappear. And by the way, I finally know what kind of curse you are. You're a curse of luck. As much of it you might have, it may overbear you, forcing you into dangerous situations. Shadowspark. Shut up! Shadowspark slightly wagged his tail. I grinned. I knew I wasn't a bad curse. I don't understand why everyone treats me otherwise. That must be the job of the legendary cursed wolf. Who knows? Really? This bull stuff again?
This what?
This bull stuff? Dude, why are you silent? Anyway. I sighed and heard Shadowspark chuckle. I'm not kidding. In fact, I saw him standing on top of the big waterfall on my way here. The big waterfall. What are you, deaf? Sorry, that was offensive. Anyway.
You're recording first of all?
Oh, really? Does anyone else know about this cursed wolf? If it really was real, then surely others would have seen it already. Shadow Spark shook his head. Just kidding. It's just a story to scare even adult wolves. And apparently whenever a cursed wolf is born, wolves get creative. I grimaced. I can just imagine what life might be like for that wolf. Would it be worse than mine? Shadow Spark Shadow Spark shrugged, but said nothing. Let's just focus on arriving safely to your new home. I nodded and continued following him, but silently. Chapter 9. Flame Shard! It's an emergency! I yelped, darting past the other wolves in the living space. The dull wolf whipped around to face me. What is it? Panting to catch my breath, I announced what I had seen last night. The Windrunner! I saw the Black Wolf use Shock Nova on him after using Root Prison, then he dragged his corpse away with the help of another wolf. My voice nearly broke as I choked out the last 12 words. The Windrunner was my first and only friend. He was friends with me ever since I first arrived here. His story was that the invading wolves infiltrated his home, since he lived alone, and nearly killed him. But he managed to make a deal with them, so that's why they spared him, as long as he did what their alpha said. But now he's dead. And I know that Black Wolf is responsible for that. Man, shut your... Anyway. Flameshard's eyes grew dull. I see the disappearances haven't stopped. We need to figure out who... The Black Wolf, you did it, you fool! I snarled. I saw him! What we need to do is find him. I'll even kill him myself once we captured him. Yeah, sure. And in the meantime, we can also find Curse. My ear flattened. Who gives a darn about him? This is my friend we're talking about. Not some pup who cursed his pack. I wouldn't care if he's dead. Besides, ever since he was gone, things in this pack started improving. We're finding more gems, and there aren't any more of those invading wolves we had trouble with a while ago. We need to stop being selfish. Curse is just a pup, and now that we only have 2 left, him and Thunderstrike, it is critical that we do what we can to keep them both alive. And if you're planning to kill another one of our pups, you're on your own. Whatever. Just know that you haven't made a beta yet, so any of us can just kill you to become the alpha and beta themselves, I growled. Flameshard tilted his head to the side. What do you mean? Oh, right. You were out hunting earlier today and missed it. But we have a beta. Good. And you have a mate, right? I asked hopefully. No. Our only she-pup is missing. Besides, I'd have to wait until she becomes mature to even have her become my mate. Frustrated, I glanced at the other wolves, who had blank expressions on their faces as if they'd lost hope in the pack. This pack is going to collapse, and the other wolves already know it. That's why they're sitting there like that. I looked back at Flameshard. He knew there were no adult she-wolves. Try sending out some wolves to look for a female, I murmured. You're not running this pack, Fire. I am, Flameshard snapped. I'm tired of you acting like you're the alpha of this pack when there's already one. Anger flared up inside me. You may be an alpha, but you're not good enough. You're letting your own pack fall because you refuse to keep the pups in a safer area rather than out in the open. A day right after the disappearance of the first pup, the Norwegian wolf pup, I suggested that we keep all the pups with a large group of wolves, so that whoever was causing their disappearances would have trouble stealing them. Then they'd get caught, remember? Even Iceblaze did a better job than you did. Oh yeah, I've also noticed that our pack started to become slightly unstable a few days or so after he became alpha. I hate to break it to you, Flameshard, but I don't think you're fit to be alpha, a wolf said. A few others growled or murmured their agreement. Who did he make beta? Another wolf asked. A silver wolf raised his paw. I stared in disbelief. This has to be another wolf who isn't fit to be alpha. And what use are you going to be for our pack? I snarled. He glared at me from the corner of his eye. Better use than this current poor excuse for an alpha. You'll see. Enough! Ordered Flameshard, but more wolves began speaking. I have a feeling that Sharpstorm will make a good enough alpha. Yeah, why won't we just kill Flameshard to make him alpha? Sounds good to me. Who else is in on this? Me! Same. Yeah. Things were slowly escalating out of control. Please, Sharpstorm, just be a good alpha for this pack's sake. I glanced at Flameshard, who was backing away as the rest of the wolves in the living space walked up to him, with menacing growls, Sharpstorm being in front of all of them. Flameshard, we had enough of you throwing away our pack like this, and because you chose to neglect us, we have chosen to give you 2 options. Step down as alpha and let me, the beta, become alpha, or run while you can, before your own pack tears you apart to the point where there would be nothing left. Sharpstorm growled coldly. When Flameshard said nothing as he trembled in fear, a sneer grew on the Silver Wolf's face as he backed him into a wall. Looks like you were right, Fire. This alpha isn't suited to lead us. In fact, might as well make you beta after this. He looked at me with a warning glint in his eyes, as if to tell me that I must obey him since I did him a favor. I snorted. You go and do your thing. Just know that this pack is counting on you not to drive them into failure. Frowning, Sharpstorm turned back to Flameshard, who had disappeared. As I heard Sharpstorm growl in irritation, I felt a sharp gust of wind as I caught movement from the corner of my eye. I didn't even have to look to see who it was. Clearly Flameshard found this opportunity to run. I'd feel bad for him if he was a better alpha and tried to do something about the state of our pack zone. I glanced at Sharpstorm, who was heading towards the big hills in the far distance, but the glaring sunlight forced my head away. Sharpstorm is our new alpha now. I hope things will get better soon. If we don't find a she-wolf and fast, our pack will slowly die off. It was nighttime again, and my ear jerked up as I heard soft paw steps coming close to me. After Sharpstorm made his announcement, he predictably made me beta, and had ordered me to guard the entrance of the living space along with an Aardwolf, who recently just came here while I was made beta. And I don't know why, but I got a bad feeling about the wolf as soon as they arrived. They both have been here for most of the night already, and I was sure I could sense that something was up with this wolf. But I eventually convinced myself not to worry about anything. The low rumbling of a threatening growl tore me away from my thoughts as I saw the Aardwolf standing in front of me. Do you not hear that? I growled through the gritted teeth. We both turned to face a black silhouette who was slowly approaching us. A smirk outlined its dark face as it looked at me. Good to know that we meet again, you two. Oh, especially you, Firewolf, it said. It's that black wolf who killed Iceblaze. I stared in dismay. The wolf was pretty small for a male, which confused me about how he was able to kill Iceblaze. But then I remembered. He didn't touch her when he used a power that needs to touch their opponent to work. If he uses that power again, we're both screwed. As the black wolf walked over to the Aardwolf next to me, I saw him back away before turning to the side. Oh shoot, not again! A red aura appeared around me, quickly followed by a large ring of fire. The black wolf yelped as he quickly ran out of the fire, his entire side scorched, showing the skin and leaving black, bleeding spots. He whipped his head towards me, shocked. Then his ears flattened, and after the fire vanished away, he ran towards me. I knew that he was going to use one of his powers, so I had to act quick. As I was preparing myself to dodge the same power he used to kill Iceblaze, a root prison formed around me, and once the black wolf was less than a foot away from me, a burst of electricity shot out from him, and I felt my body shake violently before I collapsed onto the ground, limp. My breathing came to an abrupt stop, and my vision slowly got blurry. I heard the black wolf talking to the Aardwolf, and before I went unconscious, the last words I heard were, I'm disappointed you joined the greedy wolves. You should have stayed with that Windrunner and the others. I understand. Boom. The wolf's words faded into a muffle as darkness curtained everything around me. Chapter 10. The final chapter. I understand, Black Stinger, the Aardwolf Desert murmured. But what do you expect me to do instead? Join your notorious group and invade the greedy wolves ourselves because Firefall failed? I wrinkled my muzzle at the mention of him. Ghostfire used to be in Firefall's group, and he had told me about the pack. In the Forest of Darkness, the only group of wolves who had stayed there were Firefall's group. Firefall was a maned wolf who was known for invading other wolves' territory and stealing it once he was successful. Ghostfire used to be a part of his group, along with Sabretooth and a few others, including their beta, Desert. Desert would be gone for a long time though, and because of that, everyone thought she was dead. While she was gone though, Firefall decided that his group needed a new territory, so that's why he led them to the grassland. But once he did, the greedy wolves chased him out and killed his parents. That was when Shadowspark secretly left his pack to tell Firefall his pack's weakness, which was the death of their she-wolves, since the pack at the time had a lot of she-wolves. Not realizing that I had gotten distracted, I suddenly noticed that wolves were surrounding me. A silver wolf stepped out from the circle, growling threateningly. Get out of our territory, intruder! I scoffed. I could clearly see his trembling legs, and how he did nothing to stop them. Look, you're scared. I glanced at the rest of the wolves, who weren't as scared. These were the invading wolves from a while back. I recognize that Aardwolf, one of the wolves exclaimed. Attack them then, snarled the silver wolf. Get the black wolf first. Nearly all of the wolves charged towards me and the Aardwolf. Her and I both exchanged quick glances. I didn't have to do much to get rid of the wolves who tried to attack me. One shock nova was enough to kill them. Meanwhile, the Aardwolf had to face the silver wolf who was pinning her to the ground. I ran towards him, but a thundermite snatched me up in my scruff. I panicked. Sharpstorm, should we hold this wolf hostage? I mean, we've captured him, he said. Before the silver wolf could speak, a lightning bolt appeared from the Aardwolf's body, then struck him. His jaw opened as he let out a weak whimper before collapsing onto the ground. Getting up, the Aardwolf glared at the Thundermite holding me. Both your Alpha and Beta is dead, Thunderstrike. Your pack is no more. The Thundermite dropped me onto the ground before shaking his head. Yes, I'm aware of that. However, I do suggest that you bring both yourself and this wolf back to where you came from. Wherever that may be. And if we don't, I faced him. You shouldn't be so eager to be punished for your stubbornness. Because although you might be sneaky, you're really a coward who can't bear to go into sunlight out of fear for getting detected. I let out a warning growl. This isn't your territory anymore. What part of that don't you understand? So you should clearly be the one who should leave. Fine then, but know this. If you persist on staying here, I'll kill you myself. He turned away before I could protest. Flattening my ears in irritation, I huffed before glancing at Desert. So who's telling Shadowspark that the greedy wolves still want to stay in their territory? But don't you think we should consider what Thunderstrike said first? Asked Desert. I shrugged it off. Shadowspark should handle this with ease. Do you know where the others are? Desert nodded. The last 2 members from Firefall's group are somewhere near the Forest of Darkness. Well, one of them is. I'm not too sure about the other one, though. Good. Let's take whatever's left of these wolves. Let's take whatever's left of whatever these wolves left behind, then head back, I said. Darkness was split into many pieces as sunlight stabbed through the clouds. The sun was clearly rising, and I needed to get sleep as soon as possible. But we were still far from our destination, and stopping to get rest would be more risky than anything. As we reached the top of the hill, pushing our way through the thick bushes that blocked our path, I heard a slight rustle coming from one of the bushes not too far from us, but I ignored it. Suddenly, a scent smacked my nose, causing me to freeze. Clearly Desert smelled it too, because she sped up. The scent smelled familiar, so it was either Venomfrost or one of my group members like Ghostfire. The 2 wolves were standing in a clearing, staring at what was in front of them. Once I joined them, my body froze. Sorry, that was another typo. Ahem. Once I caught up to Desert, my body froze. Ghostfire was laid on his side, right at the start of where the hill declined. His hind legs were completely removed, and blood was trailing in clumps behind him. I trotted closer, horrified by the sight. I looked into my friend's eyes, and was relieved to find that there was still life shining in them. What happened? I whispered into his torn ear. Ghostfire shakily opened his mouth, and in between wet splutters as blood flew from his mouth, he spoke wearily, as if he had just woken up. Ghosty. Ghosty was a common nickname given to Ghost Pepper, a white... Oh boy. Ghosty was a common nickname...
Oh my gosh, that's the same reaction that's the same reaction I had for when Rookie at first used her Bankai. Oh my god.
Ignore that one promo I'm making a Bleach reference. You guys don't get it. Anyway, Ghosty was a common nickname...
Yo, Ghost Pepper finally did her doing. She actually disciplined very trouble for once.
Anyways, it was given to Ghost Pepper, a white wolf.
Oh my god.
Who had helped and also nicknamed Ven. She was said to be evil, but as long as I've known her, she hasn't really done anything to prove it.
Who, me?
Ghost Pepper.
Ghost Pepper. Oh.
Yeah. The only thing I know about her is that Shadowspark disliked her.
I mean, I don't blame him.
But now, she had something to do with Ghostfire's terrible injury.
Oh, yeah, of course, she's a kind of wolf that would do the bleeding. She may seem calm, but she's actually not. She's very savage, clear proof.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even joking.
What did she do? I asked calmly, quietly. Nothing. A voice spoke for Ghostfire. I didn't look to see who it was. I already knew it was Venomfrost. He asked for it. I overheard him plotting to kill your Alpha and take his spot before the next Beta was appointed. Venomfrost's voice was wary. I'm so sorry for what I did, Black Wolf. I almost wanted to correct...
manipulating the wolves into thinking that she is guilty of her wrongdoings like Kyubey, but...
Sorry, you guys don't get it. That one point line is once again making another anime reference. Yes, she's a weeb. Anyway, I almost wanted to correct her for addressing me, but I knew the rest of my group members were here, and the last thing I wanted was for them to find out that I've been meeting her privately. Especially about the part when she taught me the distance trick. Just as Venomfrost was about to speak again, a figure jumped out from the bushes and knocked Venomfrost over onto her back, snarling. It was Shadowspark. I thought you agreed not to kill anyone else. No, he was in the bushes. There were bushes. No, he didn't. Dang. I thought you agreed not to kill anyone else. Else? I narrowed my eyes. Yes, else. After she killed Sabretooth, she promised she wouldn't kill anyone else, and look where we are now. Charles Park put his paw on Ben Frost's chest. I'm not giving you any more chances, Ben. My leg pushed me to the ground as I wailed like a pup. My legs pulled me to the ground as I wailed like a pup. How could she? This wolf who I've trusted for so long. This wolf who I've trusted for so long. They're the only wolves I cared about. Black Singer Ghostfire was cut off by another sputter. He gasped for air, but his raspy breath turned labored as he struggled to move. Shadow Spark's ears flattened. I almost feel sorry after witnessing all this happen so quickly, little spider. I'll try to explain everything later. I almost didn't hear him as so many emotions overwhelmed me. Sadness, grief, fury, and regret. It hurt me so much because of me feeling like Venom Frost betrayed me. It hurt me so much, not because of me feeling like Venom Frost betrayed me, but because I knew Ghostfire ever since I first arrived in Forest of Darkness. Not because of me feeling like Venom Frost betrayed me, but because I knew Ghostfire ever since I first arrived in the Forest of Darkness. He was the only one out of the other wolves that were there who actually brought me to their group. That was right after he was with Shadow Spark, according to him. Desert, go to my den. I'm glad to know that at least you, along with Sabretooth, Little Spider, Ghostfire, and Poison were still loyal. Poison? Desert frowned. You do realize that's not his name, right? Then he should be here to complain about it. Desert rolled her eyes as she waited for me to finish before motioning with her head for me to continue leading her towards the Forest of Darkness. I shook the dirt from my fur. After I get some rest, I'll be heading to the grassland to see if that Thundermite is still there. If he is, he'll think twice about trying to talk smack about me. Epilogue. Well, what do you know? He's back. Shake my head. Anyway, epilogue. A cursed wolf lay calmly inside a cave behind a waterfall. He was about to close his eyes when a shadow hunter wolf barged in, its black fur dripping. It shook its pelt before looking down at the cursed wolf. After a few moments of silence, several more wolves emerged. A black wolf with missing patches of fur took a step forward as an Arctic wolf walked beside him. No! I demand you to tell me who you are and what you're doing in our territory, he growled softly. The cursed wolf, who had his head resting peacefully on its paws, slowly raised it. This entire mountain area is your territory, he asked. Do you ever consider, sharing it? The wolf narrowed his eyes. And I don't know about you, but this is way too big. And by the time you're already halfway patrolling it, you'll be exhausted. But hey, don't get me wrong, maybe you like the exercise. A small gray wolf spoke. We don't own the entire mountain area, just half of it. We don't care about the other half. The cursed wolf smiled. Well, that's good to hear. Well, in case you don't know, you happen to be in our territory, so leave, the black wolf growled. Sure thing. The cursed wolf stretched and slowly lifted himself on the ground. I'll just sleep somewhere else. He walked towards the exit of the cave as wolves moved out of the way. As he was one paw step away from getting drenched in the water from the waterfall, he took a quick glance at the shadow hunter wolf. Something feels off about that wolf. What is it, though? The wolf smelled like a pup, even though it was the size of a young adult. The cursed wolf turned as he slightly narrowed his eyes at the wolf. It also smelled like something else. Something familiar. The shadow hunter wolf flattened its ears as it let out a low growl. Don't stare at me like that, trespasser. Why is he staring at that pup? One of the wolves asked. He wants to steal it from us, another wolf whispered. The cursed wolf turned to face a slightly dark-colored golden wolf. I didn't wish to do such a thing. Don't make me repeat myself, the black wolf snarled as he took a paw step forwards after turning towards the cursed wolf, tail raised high. It's clear that he doesn't plan on leaving, the Arctic wolf said. I hope he knows he's greatly outnumbered and won't stand a chance against us. You know, a voice startled everyone, even me. It's funny you say that. The wolves turned to face a medium-sized gray she-wolf who was sitting in a corner. She had a smug look on her face. Oh, I almost forgot that she was here, the cursed wolf thought. The black wolf threw his head back and howled. As he did, the others rushed towards the cursed wolf. Get that Shadow Hunter wolf and meet me at the mountain leading to the creek. The cursed wolf snapped at the Grey Wolf. The wolf's ears flattened as an indigo aura appeared around her. She ran towards the Shadow Hunter wolf and snatched it up like an eagle before speeding out of the cave. Shortly after the howling stopped, a few of the wolves chased after the Grey Wolf. The rest had stayed. Hold on, guys. That one Purloin said something. What did you say again, Purloin?
What do you mean?
You said you can't wait for Venomfrost's villain arc to start.
Yeah,
No.
Just so about about that, if Venomfrost's villain arc starts, I wonder if she's going to get stopped. I wonder what her motive is, really.
Her motive is to actually beat the cursed wolf in a fight because she's actually helping him.
That's not a real motive. That doesn't make her an antagonist. A real antagonist, like an example, is
Okay, she's gonna make another anime reference. Yes, Venomfrost is an actual antagonist because she's a huge jerk to Sparkflame.
Yeah, it's just your average person. It's not.
No, I'm serious. But yeah.
People are jerks to everyone, man.
No, like she was evilly being a jerk.
Yeah, that doesn't really make
Yes, it does. Anyway, I'm gonna continue reading that blog because everyone Purloin loves interrupting. That one Purloin? More like that one interrupter, am I right? Anyway. The cursed wolf looked around. He was completely surrounded by wolves. I need to plan this carefully. If I place a trap now, they'll all attack me at once. But since they're crowded in both inside and outside of the cave, since I'm standing at the mouth of it, I can try using one of my strongest powers to deal with as many wolves as I can. He took a deep breath in as he closed his eyes. I can do this. Shut up! A red...
No, that's not actually said that.
So that one problem was snickering. Anyway, a red aura appeared around him. As expected, wolves lunged at him. A blue circle appeared underneath him. Then, as a wall of fire burned the wolves in front of him, a blast of cold air escaped his mouth as he hit every single wolf with his freezing breath. Ice shards covered their shivering bodies, very quickly freezing them completely. Terrified, the black wolf watched in despair as only a few wolves had survived the freezing breath. So basically, I'll explain this stuff later. Anyway, but it did not go away. Quickly using that as an advantage, the cursed wolf was about to whip around to face the few remaining wolves when the root prison surrounded him. The wall of...
I remember when Venomfrost used to have root prison. That wasn't a really good time.
The wall of fire, along with his freezing breath, vanished. And only a while later did the circle disappear as well. The cursed wolf glanced at the black wolf as he turned away. You wouldn't want to risk losing any more pack members. He then calmly walked away. It was still light out by the time the cursed wolf found the gray she-wolf. Apparently she was unscathed, other than a patch of fur missing. And maybe besides her trembling. Other than that, the cursed wolf noticed she was unharmed. I'm amazed you were able to fight so many wolves on your own, he said. It was nothing. In fact, not only did they have no choice but to let me keep this pup, a couple of them even decided to stay. The cursed wolf looked at the two wolves sitting near the she-wolf and the shadow hunter wolf. A large ashen wolf and a slightly smaller gray wolf. You two, introduce yourselves, the she-wolf huffed. The ashen wolf sat up and trotted to the cursed wolf. Hi, my name is Darkfall. Whatever you do, please don't hurt anyone else. I care about everyone in the pack. The cursed wolf nodded. Rest assured, that's the last thing I would ever do. Darkfall nodded and headed back to the shadow hunter wolf. Before the gray wolf could approach the cursed wolf, the gray she-wolf got up and stepped in front of him. She growled something in his ear, and his ears perked up. Then she walked towards the cursed wolf. That's my brother, Frost Venom, she joked. The gray wolf smiled. No, my name's actually Jetstorm. He tilted his head towards the gray she-wolf. Yeah. He tilted his head towards the gray she-wolf. And that's my sister, Venomfrost. He wagged his tail as he went to his sister to lick her ear affectionately, but she recoiled and pushed him back with a threatening growl. Jetstorm sighed as his tail drooped. So, cursed wolf, what's your name? Darkfall asked. Let's focus on that later. Right now... That's right, you guys are going to know what that cursed wolf's name is in the final book. I'm a jerk. Anyway, let's focus on that later. Right now we need to figure out what to do with you two. The cursed wolf thought for a moment. These two would be great to test Venomfrost's strength. And judging by the way she's acting, I'm assuming she has no problem with seriously hurting or even killing her brother. Jetstorm and Darkfall, I want you to do me a favor, Venomfrost said. Go to the Forest of Darkness and drop off this pup somewhere. Let the wolf pack there find it. Be sure to stay there until they find the pup. If they find it, look for a black wolf and bring him here. Darkfall looked uneasy. Okay, but where is this Forest of Darkness? He asked. Look for it, Venomfrost growled. Jetstorm nodded and gently pushed Darkfall in the direction of what seems to be more mountains. The cursed wolf watched the two wolves walk off into the distance, their tails wagging anxiously. It's pretty dangerous for those two to be out there, in literal pack territory. But I shouldn't worry. Venomfrost knows what she's doing. After a few moments of silence, Venomfrost spoke. So you'll let me help you now, right? The cursed wolf shook his head. No, not yet. You're still not strong enough. Venomfrost narrowed her eyes. You clearly are unaware as to how strong I've gotten. The cursed wolf didn't say anything. Is that so? As much as he believed her, he still wasn't sure. He could have her deal with someone who he's been having trouble with, since that wolf isn't too strong. After all, it's really just a pup. He was sure, especially seeing how fast she was earlier, she'd have no trouble dealing with that pup. Yeah, that's what I'll do. He decided that's what Venomfrost is going to help him do. Then she'll help me with my rival. When the cursed wolf was a very young pup, his parents treated him like any other wolf parent would treat their pup. That is, until they found a strange-looking pup on the side of a river. Ever since they brought it in, he eventually realized that the wolf was in fact not a pup, but a young adult who was literally the size of a pup. To make matters worse, it even acted like one. The cursed wolf was shocked that his parents couldn't see what's wrong. Later in his life, the strange wolf convinced the cursed wolf's parents to neglect him and invest more time in the wolf. At the time, the cursed wolf was just able to start eating small carcasses, and still he couldn't hunt for himself. Despite the wolf's attempts, he was able to shove it out of the way whenever his parents brought him food. However, it didn't take long for the strange wolf to eventually manipulate the cursed wolf's parents completely, almost as if mind-controlling them to its will. Shut up! Since then, the cursed wolf grew not only afraid of that wolf, but a hatred that's just as strong as his fear. That is the wolf who he considers his enemy, and he must kill him. But he needs Venomfrost's help, and he doesn't feel she's strong enough to help him. She needs to be able to kill me in one hit without the use of any power combinations. When she's able to do that, she'll be ready to help me. The cursed wolf glanced at Venomfrost. Venomfrost, I decided that you will help me. The gray she-wolf whipped around the face of the cursed wolf, her tail wagging excitedly. Really? The cursed wolf nodded. But this is easier than what I'll really be needing help with. As Venomfrost frowned, the cursed wolf continued. Don't start getting your hopes down. This is a test so I can see how you would do if I were to let you actually help me. And when you come back, we can fight again. Venomfrost shook her head. I have a different idea. I'll stay here for a year because I'm already planning something. A smirk lit up her face. And after I leave, I'll come back stronger than ever. Just you wait. The cursed wolf's eyes wetted. An entire year? Why? Venomfrost turned away. I actually have a surprise for you. And I made sure to make it suit your liking. But as I said, you'll have to wait a year. She then walked away. The cursed wolf stood there in shock. I wonder what she's trying to do. And that is the end of the tale of the mysterious black wolf. Come on, clap. Anyway. And now I will start working on the third book, which is A Frostbitten Shadow. It has 3 points of view, just like the previous one. And the points of view is Ghost Pepper, that Shadow Hunter Wolf, and Poison. And in the third book, we will see whether Venomfrost successfully finishes her plans and then helps the cursed wolf kill his rival, so then she can take over the world and stuff, you know. Wow. Or if she gets stopped. But yeah, now this story would be interesting. I mean, we're talking about a Frostbitten Shadow because, like, you know those annoying hackers in the wolf, like when you play PvP or something. Yep, the Shadowhunter Wolf is going to be literally the embodiment of a hacker. So basically, I'm gonna do my best to describe what a hacker might do in chapter book imagery, since that's basically what the story is, chapter book. So yeah, I'm gonna do my best to describe hacker stuff that someone might do. We're not talking about the codes and whatever. We're talking about them actually hacking, like not being able to be dealt damage to, like when they turn off or when they turn on their hacks. And when they turn off their hacks, they'll be able to deal damage. They'll be able to be dealt damage. You know. Anyway, the point is, there's going to be the embodiment of a hacker. And the embodiment of a money user. Wink, wink. Yep. But yeah, in the third book, Venom Frost might get stopped. Or might not. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And bye.
Yeah, you know you need to credit the song, right?
Huh?
You need to credit the song.
Epic. I smirked as I crossed the river again before heading towards my favorite hiding spot, a huge tree right where the big waterfall is. Then, all I have to do is just wait. Either way, we might end up getting in a huge battle, and I don't mind that. Not at all. Oh yeah, I've also noticed that our packs started to become slightly unstable after a few days ago. After a few days or so! After you became an alpha. I hate to break it to you, Flame Shard, but I don't think you're fit to be Aloha. And in case you don't know, Aloha, if I remember correctly, is how you say hi in Hawaiian or something. I don't know, I've never been there. Anyway, so you're that pup whose mother was killed by that black wolf, right? What was her name? Ice Blaze? I turned away from her. Go away. That's not how you talk to someone who's still grieving. After a few moments, the Norwegian wolf looked around. Wait, why are you here? She asked. That was when I almost forgore